I know. This I know.
Hi everybody, Christine Clark here, QHHT Level 3 Practitioner. And there's some information I'm going to share with you in this video. I'm going to talk about what's involved in preparing for your session, what consists of a QHHT session, like the breakdown, what can happen in a QHHT session, which I will expand out many other videos about. I'm going to start a series of information about that. These are things that I usually talk to the client about when they're with me in person, but I thought it would be fun to broaden that scope and get that information out more broadly. And what your role as a client is in the work, in the session, and after the session, and what exactly are you paying for, to clear up some misconceptions about that. So the first thing I'll talk to you about is how to prepare for a session. There's really nothing to do other than to start a list. You want to make a list. You want to think of anything that is mental or emotional, physical or spiritual that may need to be put back into balance, that may need rebalancing. Any questions about your life, who's in your life, career, relationship questions, some past memories that you've had that you may have some inquiries about. Any patterns that you just don't want in the life anymore, or experiences that you want to begin having or have more of, establishing more peace and clarity in their life, more ability to, a greater ability to meditate, a deepening of self-trust, the ability to be more in harmony with yourself and nurturance of yourself. These are all, this is just skimming the surface, but these are core things that most people would put down on their list before coming. When we're together after the interview, just before we begin the hypnosis part where I begin the induction, we will tease that list out. We're going to expand it out. We're going to tease it out. Part of my job, part of a QHHT practitioner's job, is to make sure that the client is asking for enough. And we really get the clarity on what it is you are wanting. And so then what happens after you arrive, we go through the interview process. This is where you take me through your timelines. You tell me all about yourself. You're helping me to get you know you better. I'm really getting some background information on you that's going to help me be a savvy interviewer when I'm interviewing the higher self and asking questions. So it helps me do the facilitation in a better way, and it's building trust. We're bonding. We're getting to know each other. There may be some mentoring going on already from your higher self, even during the interview. I'm studying and tracking your patterns of from which hemisphere of your brain you're speaking from. I'm already detecting that, and that can be very similar to when you're in the hypnosis, or vastly different, but it gives me a foundation. It gives me a base point. It's all a part of how I'm getting to know you. We will use soul speak protocols very often during the interview process, which just sort of starts getting the lubrication and the juices flowing and getting you to start looking for how that intuition communicates to you. And when I say intuition, I am referring to the higher self that comes through and transmits itself through our right hemisphere. The other thing, after we expand and tease out the list, and I'm informing you a little bit more about what you can get from your session based on what you're there for, that it wouldn't necessarily be mainstream knowledge, that it's really once the client is with the practitioner that they're going to be more privy to because they're in the session and now it's more to do with what they're there for. So I'll be informing you a little bit more about what's possible. And at this part, prior to the hypnosis, it's helping me to get an understanding of what your boundaries are. You may say, Christine, I'm not here for that, but if it goes that way, that's fine. Or absolutely, I'm an open book. This could go anywhere. I'm just curious. Or absolutely not. I'm not interested in that. That's not okay. For whatever reason that will be. So this is an opportunity for you to set boundaries and to make sure that I'm aware of them. Then you will go to the bathroom and empty the bladder. I'm transforming the room. The couch that you're sitting on during the interview transforms into a full-out bed. It's very, very comfortable. There's pillows and blankets, whatever we can create to help you be as comfortable as possible. This is when I proceed to get you to relax. We'll do a little bit of breath work. We're just gonna let you unwind, and then I'll begin to read the induction, which will induce you into the theta brainwave state. Let's talk about the theta brainwave state. That state of hypnosis that QHHT is so well known for is experienced by clients in varying degrees of trance state. So in other words, the client chooses the degree of trance that they're in, not the practitioner. We're not responsible for that. That's coming from you. It's very, very important to understand that, and it's also important to So again, the theta brainwave state is a trance state that the client chooses the degree. That degree can change throughout the experience, meaning you can come up and you can go down. It doesn't matter. Are you getting the information? Are the healings taking place? Are we getting content that is helpful out onto the recording? This is all that matters. So I really encourage people to just sort of let go of the old ideas of what we think hypnosis is. It's crazy how people think they have ideas about what hypnosis is. They've never been hypnotized. They've never spoken to somebody who's been hypnotized, but they still have this old idea of it, and that's coming from, you can tell that's coming from the collective beliefs. They're picking that up through the collective. Anyway, okay, Christine, get back to the point. So again, that'll be in my other videos that I'm going to make that are going to just be a little bit more in detailed about the work from what I've learned over the years from my perspective as a practitioner. So we go through what's called, after the induction, the past life regression. Now, past life regression is a title that's used for the segment, for the next segment, but it's not always past life. I mean, it often is, whether it's past experiences in this lifetime or other lifetimes, or even lifetimes that other people have lived that don't even belong to you, but they're the perfect thing to pull up and look at and create through your imagination to transmit out the information to me as the practitioner, because it's perfect for what it is you're dealing with. And so again, don't get hung up on where did this experience come from, although if it is important to understand the details behind it, you'll be giving yourself that information. If there's some kind of importance that's tied to was this actually your past life? Is this an experience, an actual experience that was had by you or someone else? It doesn't matter from what timelines. A lot of people are going to their future. In fact, within one session, some people will go to their past, they'll see their future, they'll see the past in this lifetime, they will see the future in this lifetime. They'll have a mixed bag of all kinds of things. They're really, really exciting experiences for me to witness. I always get very, very excited for the client. So that is the past life regression. And the regression is to just bring up information again to further grease the wheels and to further prepare you for what it is that we need to heal and understand. So you as the client will then move into your higher self through me as the facilitator. I will be helping you do that. And that can happen in so many different ways. There's various different scenarios where that higher self just segues itself right through. Sometimes the higher self shows up right away and is ready to be the guide to show you the memories. Sometimes it's more obvious in terms if it's right there to speak to do that part of the work, or it's in the background giving you that information. The imagination is a very real form. You are imaging it in to get the information. I'll be talking about the imagination in some of my other videos and the value of that and how society has conditioned us to devalue that. That's been going on for hundreds of years, but how important the imagination is and what you want to do with that and really work with that and get as much from that as you can. So then we're now at this point, we're accessing the higher self. I've got my list that I've conducted during the interview from your list through expanding it out and talking about it. And I'm following how it goes to get everything addressed. No one case study is cookie cutter. And that's one of the reasons why I love this work. I'm using my highly trained expertise and vast experience to help navigate what it is you're giving me. So we're a team. We're working together. You're the reporter. I'm the interviewer. You're reporting to me as much as you can. This is not a time to be inward and quiet, although it's a very inward experience. When we're thinking of hypnosis, you're not in there locked up in your head having your experience, not sharing. It's actually you need to be very outward in sharing what's going on in your head. I want that to be very, very clear. And I talk at length with you on that. You're going to really know your role in the work so that you can give yourself a good session. So this is what your role as a client is to give yourself a good session. And you're hiring me for my time, my expertise, my experience to help you do that. You're paying for the QHHT's practitioners' time, their life force energy that it takes to do this work. I can share with you some experiences that how my life force energy has been used, how it gets used even prior to a client coming, how it can get used continuing throughout the night and days after a client, because energies are being alchemicalized and transmutated through me sometimes if I'm an energetic match. Yeah, sometimes it's just done this way. I'll get more into detail about that in the work in my other videos, but this is for the purpose of my website so that if a client is looking on the website, they can just get a brief idea of the work. So you're paying not for the outcome, you're paying for the practitioner's time and skills and loving care and the life force energy it takes to transmit that energy from us to you. So now let's talk about what to do after your session. After the debriefing, I'm going to be keeping, after I bring you up, I'm going to keep the recording going, and you're going to just talk a little bit about your experience. You might have some questions for me. That's all going to continue to get recorded. And then I'm going to load your recording up onto a USB key that I provide for you, and you will leave with that in your hand. There is other methods that I can give you this recording as well in addition, but you will be leaving with the USB key in your hand. So what do I do with my session after, Christine? Well, I would say that there's lots of ways to use your recording. You would want to listen to it and take notes. You can pause, take notes. You want to do some journaling. Use it just to sit and be quiet as a way of just meditating with it, just through the listening. And press pause, and instead of writing, you could just sit there and just let more information unfold and continue. I do recommend finding ways to log this information, either using your own personal digital recorder or speaking into your phone if you're not a writer, or a bit of both, because it's very much like, as your perception begins to get healed back to wholeness, you're perceiving the recording differently because you're changing. And this is fascinating for me personally, and I'm very passionate at talking to clients about this, how your perception changes and how you just are perceiving your session differently as time goes on. And in that change of perception, not only are you hearing things that you didn't hear before, but more information is continuing to flow in. And you want to be asking more questions. You want to be getting more information with your recording. It's like you're coming to get the cow, and then you leave with the cow. You want to keep milking the cow. So you can use it to fall asleep. If you're going to listen to just parts of it and not the whole thing, that's always okay, especially if circumstances are calling for that. Just go with it. Don't try to white knuckle it down to one way or the other, unless that's who you are and that's what works for you, okay? What would be more of a concern is if you find time going by and you either haven't listened to it yet, or you haven't listened to it in a long time after only listening to it once. This is an indication that maybe the analytical self has kind of taken over and taken control, and is using its fear of change to prevent change, because listening to the session creates change. So we come to these sessions for change, to be rebalanced, to have more peace in the life, to have things healed, to be able to let go of what couldn't have been let go before. Not everything is always meant to be let go of. They're actually literally hung on to for durations for good reasons. But in general, we are meant to experience and then let go. And as we evolve, we're meant to do that more and more and get better and better at that. And this is what QHHT is so great for. So I can talk till the cows come home about what to do with your session afterwards. But the point here I want to drive home is the work continues. It is your responsibility to continue the work, because you need to condition and brainwash that left brain, that program, that was that database that's been built on learning how to survive. And that part always looks at the Webster dictionary of traumas of the past, and it's like, these are the traumas, and we need to inform the future with these traumas of the past. It keeps its own log, and that part of us has needed to develop that, especially in childhood. It gets mom and dad to remember there's a kid in the house and that they have to take care of it. This is just instinctive, animalistic survival stuff. I heard once that the higher self says that it's the ego helps us not get hit by a bus when we're crossing the street, but when we get older, we don't need that kind of protection anymore. So it's time to drive the bus kind of thing. So post session, you want to keep that work going, and it can meet you decades, 10 years from now with something completely new, and anywhere in between with new things, because it's a sound healing. It's a sound frequency. It's a healing frequency. It's flip the recording on. It's a sound of the higher self speaking, and memories of what you remembered that were locked in your head that you couldn't have gotten it all out in the moment will all come back. It'll all come back, and the story can pick up where it left off. So this is another reason why to continue the work, is because whatever didn't unfold in the session can continue in the privacy of your own space, with yourself, as you go back into that theta brainwave state, which is just a very natural healing state and a natural state to be in for manifestation. I talked about the list earlier about preparing. I've had people many times, through the email or the text or phone call, Christine, I'm just afraid it's not going to work, or I'm the type of person, these kinds of things don't really work for me, or that's been the experience so far, or I'm just so afraid that it's not going to work. And what I say to that is redefine that. You really want to start talking to yourself and parent up with yourself and say, well, that's okay. What is the worst that could happen? Life will still go on if this doesn't work. A. B, what if I'm just increasing my chances that it's not going to work by telling myself that, by sounding that out, by making those vows that it's not going to work? I get it. I completely get it. But we're together, a minimum of 4.5 hours. That's very rare that it only goes that long. Most people are with me 5 hours, 5.5, sometimes 6.5 hours. I've done sessions that are 10, 11 hours long. You are not in session, you're not in the hypnosis part that long, but sometimes the interview takes, I'm just looking at an osprey in the sky right now. It's my spirit animal, and there's one. And it's interesting how the osprey is not a hawk and it's not an eagle, but they have the characteristics of both. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. I just couldn't help but see that in the sky in my face like that. So back to how you want to prepare yourself before coming. Well, you want to make sure that the attitude is cleaned up. It's fairly clean. I was just talking to someone yesterday. They were booking their session, and I suggested to them, they have a lot of health issues and a lot of fears, and they've also been traumatized. They've had a lot of trauma and around trust, and I said to them, you want to make sure that your curiosity about what's going to happen is just a little, even if it's just a little bit more than your fear that it's not going to work, is better than the fear taking over your ability to be curious. And then the rest would be to, well, I don't know how this is going to go, meaning I've got a better chance of giving myself a good session if I'm curious. And that curiosity can really be a gateway and a portal to me opening up to myself and discovering who I am and what are my assets and what am I about and why am I here and how can I navigate forward with more effectiveness. And that effectiveness, the root of that is more peace and freedom. So curiosity being, even if it's just a few decimals higher than the fear that it's not going to work, and that you've experienced things before that haven't worked. Was it the end of your life? No. Life went on. Okay, life continues. And the other thing is to think of not comparing it to any other experience you've had. Don't experience it to an ayahuasca experience or someone else's QHHT session. The disease of comparison, don't do that with yourself, especially if you've never had one of these before. You don't know what it's going to be like. You don't know, and I don't know. We have to go through it together. We're a team. We have to go through it together to find out. Very, very important to just let yourself open to that concept. Already at this point, you're ready. Already at this point, it's enough to get some traction towards having a good session. And don't forget, we're together a long time. All those defenses get broken down during the interview. The interview is where a lot of the work is getting done, way more than you're going to realize anyway. So the desiring to heal is enough. You're enough. What you are desiring, you're already a part of that energy, or it would be impossible for you to have that experience of desiring what it is, that thing or experience or way of being. So that's an indication that you can give yourself what it is that you're wanting, and that the higher self does the manifesting. The higher self does the healing, not the ego. The ego has to know its place. It has to know its place in the process. And you will be given those tools and that understanding all throughout the process with me. Not fearing that it's not going to work. Well, I get it if the ego's thinking it's got to do the work, but the ego doesn't have to do the work. It's being done for it on its behalf. The QHHT session is for it. And the ego begins to learn to serve the higher purpose and allow itself to integrate itself towards that higher version of us. And you get to experience what it's like to channel your higher self. And then how to navigate that moving forward is another big passion of mine. I have so many personal stories I can share in terms of how sometimes it's my ego having a conversation with the higher self. Sometimes I'm morphing into the higher self, having a conversation back with the ego. I experience myself in all these kinds of different ways, and it's opening up and changing constantly for me. And I'm very, very passionate about the realism of it, the realistic reality of it, because they're tools. There's usable, accessible tools. So I said I wasn't sure if I was going to make another video, and I just had to, because when I told you I saw the osprey, I just wanted to share with you while I was making that portion of this video. I looked up the meaning of osprey. I told you it was my spirit animal. So here we are talking about QHHT. I'm making a video to help people understand the work from my perspective. And this was the message of this big, I'm on the top floor, so I feel like I'm living in the skies here. It was just right in my face. And here's the message. An appearance of osprey is your life, in your life, an appearance of osprey in your life can indicate an appearance of the spirit in the form of a beacon, coming to guide you back to a place of safety or security, or to a feeling of groundedness. Well, if that isn't the work of the higher self, I don't know what is. Let me read it again. An appearance of osprey in your life can indicate an appearance of the spirit in the form of the beacon, coming to guide you back to a place of safety or security, or to a feeling of groundedness. And that's QHHT in another nutshell. If you want to look at it that way, I certainly feel the energy of the higher self approving of this information coming through in the way that it's coming through. It's a bit quirky, but that's me. That's how I work. It's how I roll sometimes. This last portion is to share with you about what I've seen clients come and go with, what they've been able to transform. I know people are always interested in that. I've seen couples part when the marriage or relationship was no longer meant to be, and it was way past its expiry date. As well as seeing couples finding their way back towards each other and staying and fighting for each other and working it out and allowing each other to be who they are. I've seen a lot of union in couples as well. So staying or leaving, whatever's meant to be, transform and unfold and get clarity with. I've seen people find their soulmates. I've seen people find their twin flames and get information as to who was what in these QHHT sessions. I've seen people, I get a lot of people with canes and oxygen tanks and even walkers, and there's no elevator in this building, just transparency up front where I'm currently operating out of. And they're able to not use their canes and their walkers when they leave their sessions. They're holding their oxygen tanks. Countless times I've seen that over the years, even with the location before where I was offering these sessions. And I've seen a lot of people be able to survive surgeries that were meant to have these surgeries, that these pending surgeries, and because of the QHHT session, the higher self says they'll survive this surgery because of the QHHT session. So whether you're preventing a surgery, whether you're meant to prevent surgery, or meant to survive surgery, you get this knowledge and this wisdom through QHHT. You can. This is what I've seen. I've seen clients be able to give themselves that information through their higher self. They've allowed that information to come through. Getting off of pain medication, anxiety medication is pretty common in QHHT sessions. I see that a lot. I see a lot of cold turkey. I see a lot of a couple of days, couple of weeks. Sometimes it takes a few months, but it's more in the short term that people are able to get off the medication that I've witnessed the higher self saying, and the client has, their ego has observed the higher self saying that. What are some of the other things? Let's see, vaccine injuries. I see a lot of people coming to my sessions with injuries from various different vaccines, and the information as to why that happened, and then have things cleared and healed back to wholeness again, and finding out sometimes it was the soul's way of learning things, and that sometimes you find out why that happened. It didn't have to happen if we were paying attention, if the client was paying attention to themselves and putting themselves first instead of everyone else first, and themselves last. These kinds of things. This is just all kind of like rolling off the top of my head as I go through the Rolodex here. For the purpose of this recording, there's no way that I could possibly share with all of the beautiful healings